What is up, guys? It's your man Steady Chaos. So tonight I want to do a quick follow-up video to the video I posted yesterday about the sheer gargantuan size of the 3090. So I found a couple of websites today that have official spec sheets for the 3070 through the 3090, and I also found a website that has posted comparison photos so you can get an idea of the relative size of the 3090 compared to, say, a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, an Xbox One X, and a PlayStation 4 Pro. So let us jump right into that after the break. Alright guys, so we are on OC3D.net here. So Nvidia reveals full specifications for its RTX 3090, 3080, and 3070 GPUs. So really quick here, the 3090 and the 3070, all 8 nanometer, the 2080 Ti was 12 nanometer. Look at the CUDA cores. Are you kidding me? 10,496 CUDA cores on the 3090. That is just stupid. That is way more than I thought we were going to see. I thought it was going to be somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000. You had the 2080 Ti at around 4,300. 10,496 in the 3090. Base clock 1.4 gigahertz, boost clock 1.7. Now this is where it gets really impressive. 35.7 teraflops of power. To put that in perspective, and I understand it's not an apples to apples comparison and it's not entirely fair, but just for comparison's sake, 35.7 teraflops on the 3090 on the RTX 3090 and 12 teraflops on the incoming Xbox Series X, and only 10.28 teraflops on the incoming PlayStation 5. So that should put into perspective how ridiculously powerful the 3090 is. I understand that the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 are probably going to sell somewhere between $500 and $600, and the 3090 is $1,500. So it's not a fair comparison, but that gives you an idea of the sheer power that the 3090 has. And even the 3070, which is coming in at just $500, has over 20 teraflops of power. That is significantly more than the 13.4 teraflops from the 2080 Ti. 24 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, we knew that, with a memory speed of 19.5 gigabits per second, and recommended power supply. This is where things get interesting. So on my previous video yesterday talking about the 3090 and its ridiculous size, I mentioned that you're probably going to want an 850 watt power supply. Now the reason why I say that is if you're going to get an RTX 3090 or a 3080, especially right around launch or shortly thereafter, you're an enthusiast. You're looking to spend $700, $800, $900 up to even $1,500 for the 3090. You're not a casual gamer. So what is an enthusiast going to do? They're going to overclock the hell out of the 3090 and the 3080, or at least they're going to try to. And when you overclock a bad boy like the RTX 3090, you're going to want 800 to, I'd say, 850 watt power supply, just to be safe. Otherwise, you risk cutting it kind of close. If you push in a card like the 3090 to its limits, it already needs or recommends 750 watts running at stock frequencies. If you're going to push this thing 5, 10, 12, 13%, for every ounce of power it has, it's going to be pulling and gnawing at your PSU. So I would just recommend, if you can, if you're going to build a PC soon and then you're going to put a 3090 or 3080 in it, I would recommend you at least get an 850 watt power supply just to be safe. And here's a picture of the 3080. So moving on really quick, we have some benchmarks I wanted to share really quick here. So the GeForce RTX 3090 8K performance. Again, this is kind of overkill. Hardly anybody has an 8K monitor or an 8K TV, but it is still cool nonetheless to know that the 3090 is capable of 8K gaming. And of course, these new graphics cards have HDMI 2.1 out, which means there's enough bandwidth to do 8K 60 frames per second. So we take a look at a game, a recently released game, Control. It can get 57 frames per second with DLSS engaged. So these are high graphics settings with ray tracing enabled. And it's on an i9 9900K at 3.6 gigahertz with 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. So you see here the light green, DLSS on. So that is a DLSS, as I'm sure you guys are aware, is a form of artificial intelligence or AI upscaling to try to create clear images that are, say, just as clear or sharp as 4K or 8K without requiring as much horsepower to get there. So if you were to natively render 8K, it would require way more horsepower than using AI upscaling like DLSS. And the results are actually really good. So without DLSS, Apex Legends runs at 65 frames per second in 8K. Control, like I said, 57 frames per second in DLSS. Control's a pretty demanding game with all the physics. It only runs at 8 frames per second without DLSS and native 8K, so that is, that's pretty ugly. But most of these, Death Stranding, 78, Destiny 2, 60 frames per second without DLSS. That's native 8K. 101 frames per second on Enlisted. So these are pretty impressive values. Rocket League, 108 frames per second, 8K native without DLSS. Wolfenstein Youngblood, 74 frames per second. So impressive benchmarks indeed. And so now on to the big portion, the main reason why I'm making this particular video and why it's piggybacking off of my last video where I obsess over the sheer size of the 3090. I don't think people realize how big the 3090 is really going to be. And this article will put it in perspective for you. So this is again OC3D.net. So Nvidia's RTX 3090 isn't just faster than an Xbox Series X, it's taller too. Okay, it's taller than an Xbox Series X. What? Yeah, Nvidia's RTX, okay, so here we go. This is the good stuff right here, guys. Nvidia's RTX 3090 is longer than an Xbox One X and Xbox Series X and a fat PS4. This will make Nvidia's RTX 3090 a difficult graphics card to use within mini ITX PCs, though that is to be expected from a graphics card that can consume 350 watts of power. Nvidia's RTX 3090 is Nvidia's strongest graphics card to date, but that performance comes with an increase in size and power requirements. So here we go. Now this image really blew me away, guys. I don't know if you've seen it already. I'm a little bit late getting this video up onto YouTube, but I wanted to share this with the community because it is a very interesting image and it really puts things into perspective for the absolute size of the 3090. Here we go. You ready? Boom. Look at this. Here's the 3090. Here's an Xbox Series X. The entire console is smaller than the 3090, at least from a length or height perspective. Look at the 3090 stops right here with its bracket. It's a solid like 1.5 inches taller than the Xbox Series X. It's certainly bigger than an Xbox One X. This is the 3080, I believe. It dwarfs that thing. And then the PlayStation 5. What was one of the things that everybody said when they first saw the PlayStation 5? Cool, it's futuristic looking, it's also gargantuan. The PlayStation 5 is extremely tall, which, from what I understand, Sony had to make such a large and tall console so that they could have, you know, the proper thermals, the proper cooling, so the thing wouldn't melt. And look at the RTX 3090. If you go right across here, it's about 80 to 85% the overall length of a PlayStation 5. Good Lord. And here you see the PlayStation 4 standing up. The 3090 absolutely dwarfs the PlayStation 4 Pro in almost every respect. It's absolute insanity. It really is insane. I want to say, here it is right here. The graphics card is also 313 millimeters or 12.3 inches long. It's over a foot long. So, I mean, geez, 5.5 inches roughly, 5.4 inches wide. I mean, this thing is a beast. I don't think people really had a clear understanding of just how large the 3090 was. You could kind of tell when the CEO was holding it up across his midsection in the reveal event yesterday from Nvidia, but these pictures, this picture right here really puts it in perspective and really drives it home for me. I mean, this is a massive graphics card. Can you imagine the amount of GPU sag that the 3090 will have in your chassis if you don't use some sort of support bracket? God knows how heavy this damn thing is. I mean, that's going to put a lot of strain and a lot of pressure on your PCI connection right here into your motherboard. So you're probably, and I know if I get the 3090, there's no guarantee. I mean, I just spent $3,200 on my brand new PC build last week, and I just spent, you know, $1,800 on a 55-inch OLED back in March or April. So I'm kind of like strapped right now. I'm not looking to spend another $1,500 on a 3090 and then another $500 or $600 on a PlayStation 5. I mean, the expenses are just adding up. But if you are looking to spend $1,500 on an RTX 3090, you better be certain that you can squeeze that bad boy into your chassis, because you're going to be some annoyed if you get that thing home and you unpackage it in all of its beauty and then you go to insert it and it's just too big. It just doesn't fit. So anyway, I thought this picture was really, really interesting and I wanted to share it with you guys. I hope you have enjoyed looking at it. If you have found this video to be helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys soon for more gaming news. Later.